Oh, yeah, so yeah.
How come I'm
We
not
don't
in the
usually
picture?
see,
Gloria's not in the picture.
we don't usually see each other, really.
Gloria, we.
They're usually, we're a little
We've been
thing in the
removed.
corner there, yeah.
It's tilted for another meeting.
So why, will this just be a repeat of that?
Yes, these are mirrored.
Oh, okay, so what, well, I see,
I could turn
That's,
around.
that's easier for Matt to see and Laura to see. Yeah.
7:01 PM, I call the meeting to order. Thank you very much. Has anybody gone online to add any comments? There's nobody in the gallery here, Heather.
all right,
So there is no public forum. May I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
I would like to add an
You
item to
would.
the agenda. Well, I would like to put for discussion, we're the only group that I am associated with that does not acknowledge the land acknowledgements, and I suggest that we add it to our regular agenda. And if the group agrees, I can speak one right now.
There's a great idea.
I'm waiting to hear from the province because it will be mandated.
I don't think we need to mandate it, though. I can speak a very simple one, and then we can come up with perhaps a more formal one.
The chair recognizes Geraldine Polly.
Thank you. I would like to remind us all that we live and work and play in the unceded and unsurrendered land of the Mi'kmaq people. And as such, we are all treaty people, and we have an obligation to each other and to this land. Thank you.
Thank you, Geraldine.
we're gonna make that a regular part at the beginning of our,
I propose that we do that.
that's what you're gonna add to the agenda, that we make a motion on
Yes,
that?
I think we need a motion. May I move that? Chair? I would like to move that we make a land acknowledgement as a regular part of our meeting agenda.
Second,
I would second that.
thank you, Laura. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Are there any further additions to the agenda? No. May I have a motion, please, to approve it as amended?
I'll second.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Randy. Heather? Do you want to read the chief's report?
Yes, thank you. Chief Stevens is not available this evening. So I will read his remarks. Good evening. This past month, the CVFD responded to 19 calls. The November practice was an annual tour of the Maybeck Can Excel Mill. The department has 5 new recruits attending the NFPA 1001 Level 1 course, being delivered by the Nova Scotia Firefighter School and hosted by the CVFD, meaning all practical classes will be in Chester. The course, which is the basic training for all firefighters, takes approximately 90 hours of class and practical time to complete and will conclude in the spring. We also put on a mutual aid training day with our mutual aid partners for heavy vehicle extraction involving large trucks and buses. This Saturday, December 9th, our interior firefighters will complete their yearly live fire recertification. It has been a very busy year for our members with unprecedented wildland fires, devastating floods, and hurricanes on top of all the common emergencies. On behalf of the CVFD, thank you all for your continued support, which has allowed us to serve our community and others when called upon. The membership greeted the announcement of Acre Architects being awarded the design contract with excitement and enthusiasm. And we are grateful to all who have played a role in moving this project along. We look forward to assisting in any way possible with any further progress. The CVFD remains confident that this effort will result in bringing stability and sustainability to fire and emergency services for the community into the future. We continue to be honored and humbled by the reception the CVFD and our members receive from this community. The Chester Playhouse included us in its reopening and are offering our members discounts on ticket prices for all shows this year. The Growing Friends program hosted a lunch on our behalf in October, for which the CVFD was the beneficiary of donations. The CVFD will also be the beneficiary of this year's Sing Choirs event, which is
Nice.
So, right here,
at the Chester United Baptist Church. The Chester Drama Society has generously included us in its 2023 production, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, being performed tonight, December 6th through to December 9th, so that would have just completed. On behalf of all the members of the CVFD, we wish all members of the commission and your families, and through you, the municipality of Chester Council, the staffs of the village and the municipality, and most important, the residents and businesses of our community whom we all endeavor to serve, a peaceful and blessed holiday season and a happy new year. Thank you, Chief Cody Stevens.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Chief Cody Stevens. Now, the question perhaps moving on is, do we still want to have the report, the chief's report as item 4? Because he will be reporting to the Chester Fire Services Committee, I would imagine on a monthly basis. And therefore, and their meeting is before ours. So I would think that given the amount of time that they spend on call outs and whatnot, their presence, while we would like it very much, is not required.
I think if they're reporting to the committee, that's certainly taking as much time as is appropriate, and since we're obviously
Represented.
Yeah.
there, Yeah.
represented by the,
Hmm.
on the committee, I would say that we don't need to ask him for further representation.
Thank you, Geraldine. Do we have consensus on that?
Would we get a copy of the report
Yes,
like that?
definitely.
Okay, I like knowing what's going on, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But he doesn't have to show.
No, he doesn't have to comment.
Okay, so there's.
And as a member of the committee and the village commission, I can read the report when it comes. So thank you. Now we move on to the review and approval of the minutes Wednesday, November the 8th. Are there any errors, omissions, requested changes?
I didn't find any errors on our things. Good job, Heather.
Fantastic, yeah.
I'm prepared to move that we accept the approval of the regular meeting, of the minutes of the regular meeting Wednesday, November 8th, 2023.
Thank you, Randy. Second. Thank you, Laura. All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Next, item 6 is village lapel pins. Heather has very kindly, at our request, put in the quote for 1,000 in each category. Are there any comments?
I have a question, sorry.
No, go ahead, Geraldine.
You were more appropriate than me, you put your hand up, you go first.
Thank
Chair
you, Randy.
recognizes me?
Yes, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I'm not sure I remember why we wanted so many of these. The quote to bring the price down per pin, was that the point? Of going for 1,000 at a time? Will we really use 1,000 of them in the foreseeable future?
I think a lot of the intention was that it would be given away at
Things,
events.
but boy, 1,000 is gonna take a while to dissipate, I would think.
Well,
You'd be surprised.
and if we host the thing in a couple of years.
Oh, yeah, that part I can
I
understand.
mean, so if we're going to order them anyway, we may as well plan for that, because
Right. I knew
everyone,
there was a reason, I
Yeah.
just couldn't remember.
How many will you need at that, Laura?
oh, what do you think, man, there was 50? 50, if every participant. Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you. On page 8, supplier, Treasure House Imports, it says size 1.5-inch wide oval, which is our village logo, but the illustration is not a logo,
Now, this is just an example of another pin that they produced.
but they can actually do an actual.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's what was confusing me. I was wondering if it just meant you got that rectangular pin, but an
Oh,
oval
it
print
is
on it.
actually a rectangular pin that's die cut. Sorry, it's just the background of the picture.
Oh, I get it. See, I was
yes,
assuming
they
that
can
the
make it
black
oval.
was the whole pin. Okay.
So that would be our village logo, am I correct in assuming that's what it would be?
unfortunately, the pin that was selected at our last meeting
Number 2, wasn't
So it's on there.
is the most expensive.
it?
Yeah, of course.
But we have options. We don't need to order 1,000.
Nancy, the number 2, does that only come in a circle or does it come in the oval like our logo actually is?
There's a pricing for an oval. Number 1 is the price for the oval.
The quantity, pin style number 1 is the only one we can get in an oval.
No, this one is round, oh, you want the,
It has to be oval because that's our logo.
Item 1 on page 7 and item 1 on page 8 are both the oval.
So those are the only ones that come as an oval.
To be honest, now that I understand that that is just a black background, I'm more prepared to go with this one.
Me too.
I thought that was the pin,
So did I. I
The
thought
pricing
it was
is very
black.
good.
yeah.
How do you feel about that one, Nancy?
I don't quite understand the drawing that I am looking at. That has a rectangle with some bumps above it. And you're saying that we can get that as just a straight oval?
The black square is just the background of the photo.
That's not what I'm.
This is just an example of a die cut one. They can be any shape we want.
So it can be
Yes,
a solid oval.
yeah, this was the quote. I sent them the logo and this was the quote they
yeah,
provided
this is village
for
logo.
the logo, the oval.
Okay.
Does anybody have a ruler so I can see 1.5 inches?
Grab one.
I've gotten into centimeters now and I
Yeah.
don't remember what 1.5 inches is
Funny they don't
anymore.
quote in centimeters.
I think it's American, that's why. Those are probably 1 inch square now. No, maybe not.
As a comparison to the other supplier, page number 1 on page 7 is a little bit smaller. It's 1.25. So that's one.
Oh, that's pretty substantial for a pin, isn't it?
The thing, the red pin that I've been wearing is 3 inches.
3 inches?
That's the 5, yeah.
I think 3 would be a bit.
Oh,
it's
that's great.
huge.
That's like a button though, right?
So
Political button, right? That's volunteer fire.
I think, is 1.5 too big?
No, I don't think so.
The other one's 1 and
That's how
8.
wide it is. It wouldn't be as high.
No,
obviously.
yeah. Well, it's certain that, not, the 4th one on page 8 is neither the most expensive nor the most inexpensive. It kind of fits in the middle, doesn't it?
I think it is.
It's the cheapest ones. Yeah.
They
98 cents each. The
For
other ones are-
1,000.
Yeah,
They don't say how many colors are available on the
This-
treasure house.
The Lunenburg pin, I can't remember if I passed this around last time or not. This is the supplier that produced this.
That's nice.
Well, there's lots of colors
Saw that,
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
spelled in that one.
Yep.
I see that number 2 is 8 colors. Number 1 is 4 color. Number 3 is 4 color.
So this is basically the size we are looking at,
Ours would be a little longer.
bigger,
That just the shape of the logo, but that's,
yeah.
it's the same manufacturer who made that one.
There's lots of colors in that.
It's nice at that size, but I'm not sure the bigger it gets, the less exciting it looks to me. Just my particular,
And the other provider is the one who made the much pins. Anybody wants to see that?
which one is that, number 1?
The ones on page 7
Yes,
are this manufacturer.
yeah, but which one of the 3 did that one?
That one would be, it's the same
It's all
manufacturer
one
for 1, 2, 3.
manufacturer. This guy.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, and 3 are all the same manufacturer.
Yeah,
I
just the
find that
shapes.
one too tiny.
Yes, well, ours would be a little bigger.
Yeah.
This is probably 3/4 of an inch or something.
Right. Yeah, 1 and
On
1/8.
theirs, it would be 1 1/8. So it would be,
Well,
like so it is quite a bit smaller.
There's the logo up there.
I'm so warm. I'm gonna take my vest
I'm
off.
hot.
I'm taking my vest off.
Not too
I was trying to pretend that I was okay, but since you fessed up, I'll go for it. I felt like I was going into menopause all over again.
Okay, folks.
Well,
What is
I'm
your
prepared to
preference?
make a preference.
What is your preference?
My preference is page 8, top of so the fourth item, supplier is
Treasure.
Treasure House. I like that one.
Which quantity are we interested in?
I have a hesitation on the same as Randy, like 1,000 seems like a lot. I understand the cost effectiveness of it, but I don't know. I mean, how do we have $1,100 sitting around that we would not be unhappy at the end of the fiscal year that was spent?
I would presume this would go against our tourism line item.
Okay,
And we have how much? And I don't have the.
There-
budget.
that's a good
10,000.
budget.
Oh.
And our sign project, which I still.
This should be it for probably the next
3 years.
amount of years.
Yeah, I hesitate to.
I agree.
1,000.
It is the second least expensive
It is,
option
yeah.
for 500 or. And for 1,000. It is the least expensive.
Can anybody speak to us that they feel comfortable that we could use, like, you don't want inventory sitting around for 3 or 4 years. Like, does anybody feel
we
really good
have
about
them.
1,000? Sorry, Blair.
We would have them.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have to purchase any for a long time. Even though it's gonna be sitting around, right? That way, if something comes up, we also have them.
The other thing, well, if we got 500 of the original one, we're still, if the price is very close, we more or less had decided on that one the other day.
Except that I really feel a lot more comfortable having our logo precisely in the correct shape and so on.
Rather than round.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, but if we got 500 of those, that's 1,035. And so this is less than $100 difference to get twice the number.
oh, I see what
You know
you're
what
doing.
I mean? And we could involve the fire department and they must go to exchanges and things like that, where they
True,
might
true.
present them as
Yeah.
swapping things.
Okay, I accept that as a legitimate argument.
And it's an actual tourism thing if we're sharing them with other communities and what.
Okay.
And they are individually packaged in poly bags.
They all are.
Yeah,
So you're not spreading germs with your pin. Okay, I'll go for the 1,000 then.
What do we need a motion, Madam Chair, to
Sure.
buy
I'll
these
make a
things?
motion that we purchase the 1,000
But
Of what?
everybody is in agreement,
if everybody's in agreement.
1,000 of number 1 on page 8,
Yes.
right? Second,
Second,
thank you, Geraldine. All those in favor?
I like the round one myself.
Carried.
In order to keep
Carrie.
peace in the house. but-
Carried mostly, almost unanimously.
it's,
Well,
it's,
now I'll go with
it's
yes.
4.75.
carried.
More or less.
4.75.
Heather, tourism. Summer, Nova Scotia Summer Digital Marketing Campaign.
I could not make heads nor tails of this presentation. Why is it in this package? For what purpose?
So we partnered with Tourism Nova Scotia and Digital Nova Scotia for this program. They did a lot of the legwork because they had been working on it ahead of selecting us as one of the partners. So they did, you may recall, I sent around some links of some ads for Chester that they did on YouTube, and they had a few articles on the Nova Scotia tourism website and some other digital ads. So this is giving us, so this is just a quick recap of the program, and this is giving us basically how did it do. So these are some examples of signs I should say Google ads that were done. The village did quite well on this.
Metrics were
The
excellent.
metrics were very good. The big thing to look at is things like, it was the top performing of all the partners for all the different communities in Nova Scotia that participated in this.
In specific
But where
areas.
where do we show that?
Page 11.
Yeah,
No,
this is
I
the
understand.
specific communities that participated in this program. And the village, was the top performer, and it had a nearly triple click-through rate of 4.87%, which may not mean anything, but click-through rates are the things that mean that someone saw the ad and clicked on it, and then looked at what was there on the other end. That doesn't happen a whole lot.
What does
So-
engagement mean?
How long you stayed on the site,
Yeah.
like Facebook, if you spend 3 hours there or 5 minutes, engagement, yeah.
Engagement is more, if it's social media, it's did you like it, did you comment, did you like, not just.
Okay,
Impressions are just the number of people they estimate have seen it.
yeah,
Engagement is if they liked it or what have you, and then click through is another level, so
got it.
it did very well in the program.
Did we have to pay much for this?
We didn't get anything
Oh,
for it.
no.
We applied for, to be one of the communities that were featured, and
Have they invited us back for another year? or-
there's another piece I have to talk to them about, what the follow-up is.
I have a mild case of numerical dyslexia, so sometimes I don't do great with numbers. I still can't see where we're being compared to other communities.
There it was, I told you the wrong thing, stand-ups.
That's why I was looking on the wrong
Sorry, I
page.
told you the wrong. Do we know some of the other communities?
They don't,
Yeah,
we don't want to be like that with other communities, so.
they probably tell everybody the same, you were the
Yeah.
best community we had.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about Chester though is it already had a name. I mean, they didn't have to build a name. People would actively look for Chester.
Randy,
And I think we have to be a little grain of salty about these metrics. They can be manipulated in any particular way that the people in charge seem to want to produce. You know, I mean, click-throughs and this and that, they are relatively meaningless. to be
They
honest with
actually
you.
come from Google Analytics, it is data.
Oh, no, I realize it's data, but what it means is different things for different
so
people.
don't get a
really.
fat head.
Yeah, there's no way
No, I just don't trust Google's metrics and I mean, yes, they'll give you hard numbers, but what does that mean exactly? Did these people come here and buy something in Chester? Did they just happen to click on the ad 16 times?
Or did they even come at all?
Well, or something, you know what I
There's
mean?
no way to
Did
do
it,
that,
what's the word they use? Conversion. What's the conversion rate? That's the real, but I don't see that here.
No, they wouldn't have any way to.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, but that's what you wanna know. Did they look at the ad and either buy something, make a vacation trip to Chester as a result of all this stuff? That's conversion.
Yeah, and
We don't know.
if like Google wouldn't do that, but if tourism wanted to use this as a marketing tool, they should have followed through on
Well,
that.
they want us to think, oh, wow, that was great. So a blizzard of statistics is laid out nicely in a beautifully done piece of reportage. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is we have to have a little grain of salt on. Tourism is pushing this thing and they're gonna make it look as good as possible. I understand that the data is the data. But I'm more interested in conversion. What's the conversion to me?
As a simple person, I'm just glad that we're on the map.
Yeah, exactly. I understand.
But
I'm
we
not
were on the
suggesting
map
we never go
before.
back at it. or anything.
Unless every purchase point in the village was asking people to fill in. a
Yes, I
survey.
understand. I understand. It's
difficult.
very difficult to do that. And as long as it's free, I'm good. When it starts to cost money, that's when I have to
And
see
we
what,
do
you
in
know.
fact have a part 2 of this project that will launch in January, so they're doing a winter campaign. And
Oh, that's-
that one's not video based, that one's article based, so I was able to work with them a bit more on, and some of our community partners. through the
What do we
Emergency
sell for
Association
winter?
for photos and
Yeah,
write-ups and things like that.
What do we sell for winter?
There's still, there still are restaurants, there still is retail, like everything doesn't close down. The spa, for example, so that it's just to make sure that people think of us not only in the summer.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
and I think it's a nice idea for free.
Mm.
It's when they start wanting money, then I think it's gonna be a little different.
Thank you for that, Heather. That is very interesting information.
For us, I think.
Now, there is no correspondence. So we'll move on to Heather's report.
Hey, my activity report for December, reflecting mostly back on November. Chester Fire Services Committee, there has been a great deal of activity on the CFSC in the past month. It has taken up more than half of my time. It's a little like having two commissions at the moment. Incorporation follow-up, there was appointment and registration of officers, registering me as a recognized agent. The merger of the intermunicipal agreements as a reference, committee bylaws presented and back to legal for amendment. Insurance, policy development, we had to create an abuse prevention or adapt, I should say, from the one we had, and signing authority, conceptual design for the new fire station, the service agreement for the supplier, consultant briefings, material and information sourcing, site visit last week, scheduling, communications planning, administration of the committee, which was 2 meetings this month, a meeting and then a briefing meeting with the consultants. And in January, their regular monthly and an AGM. I would encourage the commissioners to attend the January 10th AGM at the Chester Legion.
What time?
Just say,
I don't know the time yet, 6 or 6:30, I expect, but I have to confirm that. Financial, the calculations for the separation of banking and investment accounts, including HST rebates and surpluses. Pending, and actually some of this is done now. The new 511 truck ownership transfer was done yesterday. All vehicle plate renewals were done yesterday. Still have to open CRA business accounts, a land transfer for the property on Highway 3, and a draft budget will be worked on in January. Your patience is appreciated as the heaviest of the heavy lifting continues on this important work. Security cameras, the supplier for the security cameras at the Lido and Public Washing was on site last week. 7 of the cameras are operational, but we were unable to access the online feeds.
Do you want the questions during your report or
Sure.
after?
Sure.
Which is easier?
Yeah.
Did nobody look at those all summer?
We
What
didn't
was
know
the
how to
question,
access them.
Geraldine?
Security
Did
cameras.
nobody look at them all summer? I mean, we're paid for these security feeds and apparently nobody could.
So what were we paying for? And can we get a rebate?
I don't think we were paying anything.
We were paid when they were installed, paid them, you know,
Well,
installed.
who's supposed to look at them?
I think they're for us.
Usually the clerk treasurer,
They're
but we don't have access to the feed.
interesting.
Can you not look for free?
They can't find the feed.
Yeah, I can go down into we were able to get a cabinet open that has a monitor in there, which is how we knew the others were working, except one of them's not. So I can look in the monitor that's down in the pool office, but those are meant to go online to be recorded so that I can log in, but I don't have the login.
So whoever was the person when they were installed has a code or something that wasn't transferred.
Correct.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Do we know who it is?
I think Dennis installed them, did he not?
No.
Anyway, so the supplier was unable to find the code when he was on site. So
Must be
they're still-
changeable.
That's what I've asked for, is
Yeah.
to just
Yeah.
get it out.
And,
So-
and do we know where the 8th camera is?
We know where it is, but he has to get up and take a look and see if it can be repaired.
Okay.
Lido procurement, there's a possibility we may be able to piggyback. This isn't, this is a real term. For some of the repair work on a municipal RFP, which would gain the village the same rates as the municipality. I'm working through this with Dan Pittman, more to come. And FYI, applications for Canada Summer Jobs grants are open now. I propose to apply for 3 lifeguard positions. If a lifeguard is on duty for all the time the pool is in use for both lessons and open swims, it's close to 80 hours a week. 2 lifeguards is the minimum. 3 would ensure we have qualified coverage and backup. We would still use some juniors as backup.
You might want to apply for 4. The reason being is that they always like to take one away.
It wasn't so much that they took one away, is that we just didn't have the bodies.
No
to fill it.
qualified staff.
No, I'm just talking about general grantsmanship in general.
To do that. Streetlights, we have 2 issues, the decorative ones and the regular ones. I'm awaiting a competitive quote on the replacement of the decorative ones, as these are over $2,000 each with a long manufacturing time. 5 of the 8 lights are out. We also need an inventory of all the utility poles in the village, including locations, pole numbers, which ones have streetlights, which lights are out, which poles have hooks for decor, where the transformers are, etc. I have a light replacement supplier on standby, but without knowing how many burnt out lights we have and where they are, we can't get a quote or get the work done for public safety. It's at least 2 full days of work, 2 to 3, I would say, with 1 round needing to be done after dark to check for outages. I've approached Kerry Ketty about doing this since he's more familiar with the utility poles than anybody else. He knows where they all are.
Do we not have a sketch that tells us what poles? Well, how are
We don't.
How are
That's
we
why.
supposed to know which poles are ours and which poles are Nova Scotia Power or which poles belong to East Link or, I mean,
Exactly.
well, how is somebody going and looking at them going to tell who they belong to?
I thought the village poles were all numbered.
Yeah, they are. There's
Plus, we only own the lights, not the poles themselves. What do we care? We're looking at the poles that have lights on them is all we're interested.
We
Because the
only-
lights are
we-
ours.
We only own the lights, we don't own the.
No, we don't own. the
Okay,
poles,
that's
You
clarification.
just have one, I believe you, but how come on the municipal website it says right on the homepage that other than the decorative poles, they're Nova Scotia Power responsibility.
They're not
It's just what it says there, so
Yeah.
then they should take it off.
on
It's not.
our website.
No, MODC, if you look at their website. It says they're Nova Scotia, and it lists, and if you go on Nova Scotia Power website, it'll say the towns that have, call your municipality. And it doesn't say that for Chester, so it's just
Yeah, well, we get the bills
for the.
for the streetlights. The streetlights are all
Oh,
over the village.
right.
The
We have
ones that
lights
are,
ours.
yeah, the lights are ours. They're all LEDs that were installed in
Right.
2011.
And what's the bill for that?
The power usage.
But if there's no light bulbs in the lights, how come we're getting charged for them? Because there's no light bulbs.
There's 200 streetlights that are,
We have 200 street lights. And we have no record of them. Interesting.
We used to.
many things are missing.
had done that, but we don't know.
So now we have to pay somebody to do it again.
I don't know how long ago Paul did it, but there is no trace of it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to keep interrupting you. It's
No,
so
it's fine.
interesting.
That's the word, yeah.
It's a new adventure every time I have a question.
You can't approach them or tell them you need to have the copies of that stuff.
They gave it to us. I gave it to them.
Well, where's Dennis? Let's go get him.
We'd love to.
He apparently used it for
We've
toilet
looked through
paper.
paper, we've looked through. Surveys.
Okay.
Randy, do you have a question?
Just, I see there is a pole inventory form on the desk out there.
That's for Carrie.
And where did that come from?
So the inventory form was one that I found in the old files.
Is that everything or just our poles?
That's everything, I think.
Okay.
Everything in the village.
Yes, that doesn't just, isn't just our light poles, it's everything, right? But I wondered where that data came from. Because it's like 2 or 3 pages of stuff there.
Yeah,
at the moment.
there was a spreadsheet that I found on there that had a lot of the addresses, but it doesn't have anything else. So I'm
Yeah.
guessing that might be what they took away to fill in before,
Hmm,
but never digitized it or.
or
So the
lost
addresses
it.
are what we're assuming are the polls.
Yeah.
So. Heather said she approached Kerry Kelly since he's more familiar with the polls. So are we going to pay him to go around and,
That's what I
Okay.
propose.
okay,
But okay, I'm confused.
cause he does do, like, he would know because he puts up the flowers and the wreaths, right?
But
They
we
should all
an
have a
in-
number.
But we have an inventory of the polls.
We have an inventory of the ones that the flower baskets go on, assuming it's correct. But we don't have any of it on the streetlights.
So the inventory is only for the flowers, not for the streetlights.
No, the inventory is only on the streetlights, and we don't know where they are.
But I say the inventory
Sorry,
we
we've had
have,
a couple of conversations going on
Yes,
here.
the current, we do have a list of where the flower baskets go,
but that's it.
but that's it.
Moving on,
Moving on, boardroom equipment, the final piece of equipment requested by the commission has been installed. After the third order, this one arrived undamaged. After trying it out, the commission can consider if they would like a second one on the opposite wall, as there is still room in the approved budget. This was considerably under what I was anticipating having to pay. Thank you, Black Friday.
Do you guys need that on your side? No?
I,
We don't need to decide that right now. Provincial legislative changes in progress. FYI, I've participated in a session on proposed changes to the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act and proposed additions to the Occupational Health and Safety Act to include workplace harassment. Changes to the former would have little impact on our FOIPOC response at the village, while changes to the latter would undoubtedly benefit many people in Nova Scotia. Holidays, the Chester Village Christmas took place this year, and the Merchants Association is already planning for an even bigger impact next year at Shop Local. A reminder too that the office will be closed between Christmas and New Year's.
Does that mean from the 24th to the like 2nd or something? Do we have dates?
Yeah, the other 3 weekdays. Actually, I've got it right here.
it's from the 22nd.
So Christmas and Boxing Day are the Monday, Tuesday, and then it's these 3 days that were closed. Then January 1st is obviously a holiday, so we're back on the 2nd. So when we shut down on the 22nd, we'll close that. Back on the
Okay,
2nd.
from the 22nd through to,
Yes.
February 2nd, I believe.
And we're back on the 2nd.
okay, great, in my calendar.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you. And the financial.
Randy's specialty.
No, this isn't mine. This is just the bank statement, basically, that is not.
So financial report, the November 2023 billing statement has been reconciled for the summary report. You have a copy of the summary report in front of you and the bank statement. The Q2 investment statement to September 30th was received quite a bit later than usual. It came in on the date of our last meeting, actually. And our investments continue to show growth. Some of the piece that I had neglected to include, because it's such a long, was several of the investments matured on October 31st. We have an automatic renewal clause with Scotiabank to just flip them over. And so those statements show that that was done and what the interest rate is for this year, which is a bit of a better picture than last year. 3/4 was that. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and some of there's a few of them that were not up for renewal October 31st, but that's all in the statement.
Too bad it didn't match inflation, huh?
HST rebates, notices of assessment have been received for the first half of this fiscal year, April to September. A notice was received for the overdue period October 2022 to March 2023, but an error in the figure was spotted by our auditor. This application has been resubmitted and we await the revised notice of assessment. Checks have now been received for all the rebates other than the resubmitted one. Village and fire department accounts, the signing officers for the Chester Fire Services Committee accounts were selected at the committee's December 6th meeting. Although they will need to be reappointed when the committee bylaws pass, which is anticipated to be at the January 3rd meeting. So these accounts can soon be opened. The exact amounts will be finalized when a date is scheduled for the transfer, ideally Q3 final numbers. So just to a quick reiteration, so the fire boat is a bank account that is to be closed and the funds transferred to the apparatus reserve per the fire department request. The main operating, the fire portion of the current shared village main operating account, this has been the tricky piece. Which
This
will
is
be,
what?
this has been the tricky piece. The revenue year to date, plus the fire portion of the HST rebates and offset grant, which is. I'm still working through, I've got that mostly done now, it's basically going through every single purchase and signing them one or the other. Plus the accumulated surplus for 2017 to 23, minus the expenses year to date. So that's the formula. It's just getting the exact figures in two of them that we're still working on. Investment accounts, the fire emergency operating reserve is the fire portion of the current shared operating reserve, but that's clearly delineated, so that's not an issue. And then the fire apparatus reserve, which is its own thing, so that's a very
Is it-
straightforward one.
Sorry, is it clearly delineated? We don't have the numbers from the auditor as to what the fire operating reserve is and the general government operating reserve is.
I had understood from going through these with my predecessor, which may or may not be correct, that it's fine here. If you look on page 22 of your packages, there's 3 different investments in that account. So the 97 is village, 119 is fire, and the 3339 is village.
And that's from the auditor.
That's not from the auditor, that's from Jeff. So if that's not correct, I'll have to go back to Lawrence and check.
I thought Lawrence was going to determine, sorry, it's the
It's the
surplus.
surplus that Lawrence has been working on. That's the rebates and the surplus that's been the pieces that are.
So you said that the general government is 97. And the fire operating is 119,
Correct.
okay,
And then the other 33 is one that we just deposited earlier this year from ours.
not quite the percentages that I would get.
Are they different?
Think so.
Okay, well, maybe we can talk about that offline.
This goes back. Way back
Mhm.
to when the operating reserve was first set up in 2017.
Mhm. Okay,
Sorry,
no problem. I do have a printout of the whole history of each account, so we can check.
I took the nail.
Keep every penny, Nancy.
Save me the trouble.
Fram revisions, the province is revising the financial reporting and accounting manual, which is the regulations that municipalities and villages must follow under the Municipal Government Act and sent it out for comment. I noted in my review back to them that the revision clarifies the process. They've done a lot more splitting up of what's just municipalities, what's both of us? Or ones that are just for villages or different for villages, which is quite helpful, because villages are left off of a lot of provincial paperwork, so this helps that quite a lot. No information yet on an implementation date. Yeah, and that is everything.
Thank you very much, Heather. We've been under the gun lately.
Yeah, for both of them, yeah,
Yes.
well done.
On page 29.
Accessibility,
Yeah.
So I'll just intro this a little bit. So Ellen Johnson, who's the Regional Accessibility Coordinator, produces a quarterly report for all the municipalities in Lunenburg County. So this is the most recent one. It will be slightly changing, its angle. And we will also soon be copied on minutes of the, monthly Lunenburg County Accessibility Advisory Committee, which Geraldine sits on. And
That's a mouthful, eh?
yes. Geraldine, was there anything on the committee you wanted to share?
Not really, it meets monthly. I have an excellent staff, Ellen, who herself has a physical disability and so is very sensitive to the subject. We have two types of members, elected members from various councils and from us. And we have community members who are volunteers. Obviously, they address physical, mental, intellectual challenges, learning disabilities, some things that some of us don't think about, like some people are terribly affected by scent, which shocked me, even though I pretend to myself that I'm quite open to these things. So we try to cover it all. Right now, they're in the process of redoing legislation for a whole series of regulations. The only things that will really affect us, and even then it won't affect us that much because most of the new rules and regulations and so on are for new buildings. But we may be impacted for the public washrooms and the pool. And as you know, they've sent around through Heather, the fact sheet, frequently asked questions that came out. All the members of the committee are going on a training session in February. And we're visiting some sites to discuss accessibility and how we can fold that in. But it doesn't affect the commission that much because most of anything that affects us is really on the municipality.
I was wondering kind of, we don't get a lot of mentions in here. It's all about municipalities and this and that. So are we equal partners here or are we junior partners to
We're
MODC?
somewhat junior because we're not paying into.
Okay, I've just
position.
wondered what the hierarchy was basically.
The municipal units fund,
Oh,
staff person
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
okay.
work she does.
I wasn't quite sure just who.
But we do have representation on the committee.
It's MOC and MOL. And also, I think that the town of Mahone Bay and the town of Lunenburg put money in, but we as a commission do not put money in.
Yeah,
They treat us respectfully, but
Decently,
we're in the middle,
Yeah.
like we're not a volunteer, but neither are we at the elected level. But they let us fully participate.
which that was the important thing, yeah.
Thank you very much, Geraldine. Thank you for all of this information, Heather.
Yes, that was an interesting.
Moving along, we have the draft amendment proposed for nonprofit organizations.
Page 35.
Page
Yeah,
35. Are there any comments on the draft amendment?
Excuse me, we hashed this out last night, I believe, did we not? This is just it in print now of what we got.
With the strike throughs and the
Yeah.
changes of that.
Which is an excellent job, and I'm just wondering why. From my experience. it's not always wise to specifically name groups. I mean, it seems to me it should be a general policy for nonprofits who can apply. I don't understand why we specifically name two nonprofits, because it limits the policy to those two entities, which doesn't make sense to me.
Those additional, any additional names. Nonprofits who apply for tax relief. The percentage of relief would be determined by the commission. And they would be added to the policy. The policy itself doesn't change. But right now, these two are on the policy. Recognized as receiving tax relief.
The
I
current
understand that.
bylaw only has the Chester Garden Club, so.
Well, it seems to me a policy should not include
Well, then where do we
specifics.
put?
In the
note?
minutes.
I disagree. I like to see a policy that has in black and white or red and white. Who is receiving tax relief?
A policy is meant to be general. Then
It
it's
is
applied to specific organizations. It means you have to change the policy every time somebody applies and is.
It means you have to add to the policy.
Yeah,
And in fact, this is a bylaw rather than a policy.
Yes,
The MGA specifies tax relief as being
bylaw.
bylaws, although we do do it as a policy for residents.
Oh, this would be just nonprofits we're dealing with.
This is just nonprofits.
Okay.
so. Well, there's a process that we have to go through. Because it is a bylaw. And. Do you see a need to make any further changes to the bylaw as it is currently written? If not, may I have a motion? That says the village commission approves the first reading of the amended tax exemption for nonprofit organizations bylaw as presented.
Does it need a bylaw number?
That will come when it comes.
Well, this is first reading, that
This is
implies more than one more reading.
First reading and the second and third reading will come next meeting.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, I was just like, Carl,
And a motion will be attached to it. An advertisement has to be put in the Progress Enterprise. Following the adoption of, or the approval of this first reading. And then it goes to the minister. Correct? Correct. So may I have a motion? To approve the first reading of the amended tax exemption for nonprofit organizations bylaw. As presented. Thank you, Gloria. Seconder.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Randy. All those in favor? You want, a count?
Yeah, I name,
Oh. Okay, we want a recorded vote?
I do.
All right. All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Thank you. Carried. So Heather, you look after the advertising business?
Correct.
Thank you. Now, we have. I think this next bit of business is actually a policy. Is that correct, Heather?
It's more of a protocol. I could call it a policy, but it's sort of. A policy is something that's more public facing. When it's just administrative, it doesn't need to be.
Oh,
This
yes.
is more on how we conduct our internal business.
Are there any requested changes to this protocol?
I I was thinking perhaps it would just be simpler if we followed the municipality's policy protocol. Because I think, how do they work? They announce when they are actually closed
Mhm.
by 7 a.m. And then if they close, then the employee gets paid. And obviously, we don't want someone driving if they're afraid to drive and things change. I feel like the schools are probably not a great. Those decisions are made at 2 or 3 a.m. for school buses and little kids, and we all know that. It may not even, everyone's canceled, thrown into turmoil, and you wake up and it's a beautiful day.
Yeah,
Well,
it
the
happens all
school
the time.
criterion is just one criterion.
Yeah,
under
they
section
mentioned a bunch of others.
2.2.
Right, okay, so, but I was also thinking we could just piggyback, let them do the hard work, the municipality, and go by their policy.
I think we still need our own protocol for our staff.
Okay.
This, if that helps, this does pretty closely follow the
Right.
municipalities. And we could just cut the second paragraph in 2.2. If we feel,
Yeah, I think for me, that's the only one that I'm a little vague on because it's almost a joke that school closings and then you wake up in the morning and you've got parents running crazy trying to find childcare because they have to go to work or whatever. I just don't think it's applicable.
So is this protocol as amended? Taking out the second paragraph under 2.2. Amenable to the commission.
If you want to change that to simply something else, I'm sorry.
Just, I think Geraldine was recommending the removal of
2.2.
the second paragraph
I-
under 2.2.
Oh, the second paragraph.
Yes.
Yeah,
Everything-
okay, yeah, I was gonna say we
Everything
can't get
else.
rid of it all, but yeah,
No, everything else is fine.
yeah. What are we gonna do, consensus it or something, or,
Yeah, I think so.
well, I'm certainly okay with it.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with that.
How about you, Laura?
Yeah.
Geraldine?
Then
Oh, I
make a
thought we were-
motion. Thought we were-
Laura and I were both a little hesitant on the school thing, but apart from that, it was
Are we gonna have a time that we like call it by?
7 o'clock, I would
Does
say.
it say that?
Oh, no, does it say a time?
it doesn't say that. Sometimes it may take a little longer than that to canvass everybody and see what the municipality is doing and so on.
I think it's basically boils down to
As soon
common
as
sense.
possible.
Yeah,
Um,
don't drive if
we
you're gonna
should-
kill
It does
yourself.
say
Put it on
or
our
start a
phone or something,
business,
yeah.
exactly.
Personally, I would go to the South Shore Regional School Board and see whether or not the schools are closed.
Yeah.
Look out the window,
They
see if there's a
posted-
school bus.
They post at 6 a.m. So, because I still have kids in school. They post at 6 a.m. and so that's the first one I check and then the others tend to come a little later.
And I don't know how other people do it, but we have a lot of highly rural students.
Mhm.
And this closure may, or they may not close school, they may just not run the bus.
Yeah, close that road.
So
Yeah.
the walkers still have to go. And they don't necessarily close the whole school when the buses can't get into Cambridge.
Oh, I thought they closed everything.
No,
Don't say
there
that.
have been days where. The boys I remember because they were walking students had to go.
Yeah.
Even though the people from Canaan and
Even though
from
they're teachers.
Windsor Road. Well, yeah, but so I guess what I'm saying is basically simply closing the school. Doesn't mean that all kids get off school, or you,
I don't believe they do that anymore.
no, maybe not, again,
Yes, back-
my kids are 30 years old, so yeah.
They do have the back road closure thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they.
But the other kids have to go.
Yeah.
If they're
Yeah.
close enough to walk. So I don't know if that, I think canvassing the other agencies is a good idea besides just the schools.
Is there any further comment? On page 39,
Oh, 39.
remote work. Leave,
Oh, yeah.
Do you, may I ask, sorry,
Laura,
you said the other day when you had to go home because of the What happened? We have snowstorm. Do you have good internet or do you work at home, Lexi?
I don't have good internet, I'm in the woods. I have, as long as there's, well, even with a power outage, a lot of the time I'm fine, I can work. But with power, definitely, I have good infrastructure.
If it's a sunny day, I have good internet, but it's not a sunny day.
We'll put that in the policy.
She can, that can often like be available for me, my email,
I
I call
call
that to take a laptop home, on hours.
3.2, may I make a
Sure.
comment? I think it should be, at the end of line 1, it should be or rather than of, would it not? 3.2, end of the first line. Should it not be or instead of at the end?
3.2, employees working remotely must be able to communicate.
No, 3.2 here.
Oh, there,
There's 3.2.
there's two.
Oh, excuse me. The bottom,
What's that? Thank
the
you.
bottom 3.2.
So we'll
Then-
take that.
Oh, my
to
God.
Does
3.3.
does that make any sense then? It seems to me
Three.
that sentence doesn't make sense the way it's written. Okay. Would that not be more suitably changed of to or at the end of that first line?
You're right, it's probably a typo.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it doesn't make any sense, really, yeah.
Thank you.
There. Good eagle-eyed O'Malley over there.
It was just
Except you
good.
didn't know it's 3.3.
No, I
Do you
didn't,
want
not at
to
all.
bring this back to us next month?
I can either bring it back with these
Or
couple
we
of
can approve it
changes,
as
or
amended.
we
Just
can
approve as amended.
but
Do it now.
we can improve it as amended and all that.
If the chair is
Let's
amenable
do
to
that.
that, yeah.
May I have a motion to approve the Storm Days Administrative Protocol draft as amended? Thank you, Gloria.
And I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Randy. All those in favor? Carried.
That's now an official protocol.
It
Isn't it?
is.
Smart, keep it as a protocol. We don't have to go public, but.
Okay, page 40, we have offshore wind development.
Oh, yeah, did you speak to the guy?
Received a note from Liam Baker, who is out of Carleton University in Ottawa. And I sent you some questions very late in the day, but just as a general feeling survey, whatever. Do you have any comments on the questions that Mr. Baker is interested in asking us?
I don't feel like I'm educated enough on the subject.
Neither do I. Like, how offshore is offshore?
And how does it, affect marine life and our fisheries and
Sailing.
And chicken channels.
shipping channels? And I mean, I feel like, I would be willing to answer as a human, just a person, prefacing it by saying I don't know much about it. But I feel like as a commissioner, I have an obligation, if I'm actually going to answer it, that I need a lot more information.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah,
And of course, the province themselves are slowing down a little bit on the offshore wind generation. In order to sort out, well, is it gonna be part provincial, part federal? Where's the mapping going, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that we have a whole lot of information in order to make any kind of a decision. But I can certainly express the concerns. Are there any other concerns, questions?
I know there's a lot of discussion in Canso where they're posting, they're a lot closer to that happening in Canso than they are in Mahone Bay, I'd say. And the fishermen are pretty riled up about it.
and I can understand that too, and also just as a recreational sailor myself,
Agreed.
I wonder how it would impact, our coastline, our tourism. I mean, there's a lot to think about. And while I do recognize the value of alternative sources of electricity, I think we need experts to talk to about it. I just don't feel comfortable making an opinion on no facts.
My son works in wind, but not in offshore, but he's probably moving back out east to get involved in that, but.
So you'd probably know more about it than any of
Not
us.
about offshore though, I don't
Yeah.
know anything.
And I don't know, is Mount Bay big enough to hold offshore? I mean, when they do it in Britain and places like that, it's like 10
North
miles
Sea,
out
yeah.
or something, you know? And we're at the mouth pretty well before the open sea comes,
I
you
can't
know?
believe that they would think about putting it in any bays.
So the fish farms are bad enough at this point in terms of sailing and recreational boating, let alone plopping a bunch of these giant windmills.
No, I've lost a rudder to just a
I bet.
lobster pot.
Anyway, and the other thing that I would like to say is I feel that when the time comes, they'll just do whatever they want. Anyway, the government will force it through, if that's what they want.
So skeptical.
Well, I've seen it happen too many
Well,
times.
The
you know.
interesting, the
No,
interesting,
exactly.
the interesting thing about this letter, though, is, you know, he identifies himself as a reporter, but in actual fact, he's a student doing a thesis.
Well, he's taken his master's, doesn't mean he's not a working reporter while he's doing
No,
it.
but the information is for his thesis.
Oh, I bet.
Otherwise, he would not have
Well, he's a journalist,
identified himself that way.
anyway.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Did you speak to this man?
No, tomorrow.
Oh, okay, because I think we're looking at many years yet before that.
I do believe that we have a responsibility to get off fossil fuels,
Oh,
Agreed.
for sure.
and sooner rather than later.
And I see the future for wind farms, but I just see that there needs to be a
Not
lot.
in my backyard.
Yeah, exactly, not my backyard.
Yeah.
Like any other alternate technology, not
What,
my
10
backyard.
miles offshore?
I'd be willing to put a small nuclear reactor in my back property there, it wouldn't bother me at all.
That might
Well,
fire
listen,
up
if they give us free
Oh, they
electricity.
free. My land.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Are we going in camera
Discussion
now?
or Round table.
Oh.
Oh, red
got
paper.
Something to say?
Well, I would like to remind our viewing audience and our commissioners that the January meeting will be
Oh, yeah.
third Wednesday, starting at 6 p.m.
I think it's that, I was loading, up-
January 17th.
I was loading up my
January 17th.
phone there with the dates. Wow, February puts it almost to the end of the month, I think. Because of the way that January fades into
Yes.
February. I guess that happens anyway. It's the way
Yes,
is.
it does.
Yeah.
Normally.
February is such an odd month.
It is, really. Yeah, I know.
Okay, 6 p.m. on January the 17th,
I
is
think
that
that's it,
correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And Heather's calendar will probably show. up.
Okay, may I? That does the business for the open session of the commission meeting. May I have a motion to move in camera?
So moved.
Thank you, Geraldine, second. Thank you, Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Carry.